as the Walt Disney Company does everything it can to make Disney Plus a successful streaming service, such as increasing, shifting, or decreasing content spend in order to post mediocre profits for shareholders. Subscriber count and sheer profitability, especially when compared to the outrageous cost of hosting and managing said streaming service, continues to plague the company. But for all of Disney's efforts to make the associated numbers look as great as they can be, such as bundling Hulu, ESPN Plus, and Disney Plus under the quote combined DTC metric, their competitor Netflix is still the dominant force in streaming. So much so that, according to a new report, Netflix's profits just exceeded Disney's by a factor of 20. Let's talk about Netflix scoring a major victory in the war for streaming ratings, especially when compared against Disney Plus, here on That Park Place. But you know what isn't so accurate, Jonas, is how the Walt Disney Company actually characterizes its streaming platform, specifically Disney Plus. They're now going with what? A combined DTC, is that correct?
That's very true. Yeah, we'll never know how much money Disney Plus makes, will we?
Maybe not. But, well, we can find out a little bit about its success in this article provided by WW Pro here on That Park Place. Netflix profits exceed Disney's streaming success by 20 times. A new report from THR. It's Bob Iger's strategy failing this April 11th, 2025. The latest figures from streaming giants Netflix and Disney offer a stark comparison, underscoring Netflix's increasing dominance and highlighting Disney's continued struggle to achieve the scale and profitability initially promised by Disney Plus. Of course, YouTube is dominating both companies in terms of ratings, viewership, and revenues, but let's set it aside for the time being, given how far it is ahead from all these streaming competition. You can see this right here. YouTube is about to eclipse Disney as the biggest media company in the world. Yes, I think that's accurate. In 2024, Netflix reported an impressive $33.7 billion in revenue, marking a 16% increase year over year. The company's operating profit surged an astonishing 49%, surpassing the $10 billion mark for the first time in its history, ultimately hitting $10.4 billion. Netflix continues to attract subscribers at an enviable pace, gaining 9.5 million global subscribers last year, and ending 2024 with a formidable 301.6 million subscribers worldwide. The streaming giant projects further strong growth in 2025, expecting revenue between $43.5 billion and $44.5 billion, marking a 12 to 14% annual increase. By contrast, this contrast is stark on this one, folks. Disney's combined streaming operations, what we were referring to before, Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus, reported significantly smaller figures, albeit still posting growth. In 2024, Disney's streaming platforms generated $23.3 billion in revenue, a year-over-year increase of 13%. Critically, Disney managed a quote, $574 million swing into profitability. A positive but modest achievement compared to Netflix's multi-billion-dollar profits. However, it should be noted that Disney's revenue growth may be a result of Hulu and its acquisition, while Disney Plus may be stagnant. We've talked about this before, Jonas, on how Hulu is really the big revenue driver. Hulu is the really big contributor to what they call ARPU, or the average revenue per user, right? Hulu is the more successful streaming platform. So why on earth would you incorporate Hulu and Disney Plus when it should be the other way around? Go ahead, Jonas.
Because they're trying to hide the fact that Disney Plus is probably not profitable. I say probably not profitable. I don't think it's profitable in any way. They're still overspending on the platform. They have decided that they're going to stop putting so many big shows on there. Most of the big shows that we're seeing right now are things that were paid for a long time ago, and they're delaying them in order to try to make expenses hit in certain quarters so that they can say that they're technically profitable to ease the hit, so that hit is spaced out over time. Daredevil Born Again notwithstanding, I think that one is probably as on track as it can be, despite the fact that I think it might have hit the streaming charts like maybe 1 week here. So Hulu is ad-based, and people watch Hulu because it has all of the content that people are used to watching over a long period of time. Like, not really my kind of thing, but Grey's Anatomy. So if you have however many seasons, the 300 years that show has been on, people will binge that show and hit ads every single ad break and make Disney money, as opposed to that paltry, I don't know what, $12 a month that the retail price of Disney Plus is. I'm only paying about $1 for it at the moment. So,
well, that's the thing too. This article actually points out here that they've been holding promotions for what, $1.99, $2.99 quite regularly, which also speaks to maybe retention problems or subscriber growth problems. So they're trying to offset that by discounting this platform as low as it can possibly go. Meanwhile, Netflix really hasn't had much of price volatility at all. In fact, they keep upping the price, and seemingly the subscribers keep growing, which is very interesting right there. I think it was The Bear, was that right? They stuck the whole series on, I think it was season 3,
Yep.
was that right?
Yep.
In order to get that.
Yeah, it was on FX, and then they decided, no, we want this classified as a Hulu show so that we can be at the top of the streaming originals chart. So they took, instead of spacing it out over time and allowing it to build, they are choosing to do a single dump of a show at a single time. When everyone was watching The Mandalorian, it was a great strategy because people were speculating and people were rewatching and people were going back and people were talking about it at the water cooler. But now, in order to make sure that they dominate the streaming charts, they have to hit everything at one time so that they can get a big single bump to rocket them up from, from 24 in the chart to somewhere in the top 10, hopefully, which not so successful.
Well, that's a good point right there, because I remember Disney Plus was like the very first streaming service to say, no, we're going to do weekly programming in terms of the content output, episodic output of their shows, which was like kind of a big deal back in the day, because Netflix would notoriously dump all their programming at once, and everybody would talk about it, and it wouldn't get that talk around the water cooler week after week. Disney, understanding that from the broadcast days, played a little bit differently, which is good. But like you said, if they're not confident in their product, like Mandalorian, for example, maybe like Acolyte, we'll give you the first 2 episodes. And Andor, maybe we'll give you the first 3 episodes. And The Bear will give you the whole thing. So again, it speaks to the confidence level of their content and their platform. Now, here's the interesting thing about all this. For all of the spending that has gone in to Disney Plus in order to fight Netflix. Remember, they spent $30 billion on content spend in 2021 and then again in 2022, right there. A lot of it going to Disney Plus in order to take it to Netflix. Well, Netflix, by contrast, at least in 2025, has only admitted to spending $18 billion so far on content spend. So it's a little bit different, and you can see that they really do show up on these streaming platforms. In fact, I think Mac actually had a post about this most recently, and how you get a lot of content from Netflix, Paramount Plus, and Max, Apple TV, and so forth, right? This is going to be the March 2025 top streaming programs, but not a whole lot from Disney Plus. In fact, actually, Daredevil doesn't even show up on this list. It did for a little while in terms of some episodes, but really did dramatically fall off. And we know that was redeveloped and maybe reshot at a certain point. So that content spend must have been very, very high for it to not even achieve, streaming programs or original programming. That's got to be a huge hit.
Yeah, and it's apparent in the show. So that's one of the reasons that there's such a large time jump. I'm hearing that's also the reason in some of the early, but not the first episodes, that they fill a bar with smoke. Somebody throws a smoke bomb into the scene, and then there's apparently no reason why they do that. It's to cover up maybe the fact that the costume is different. I don't understand how Disney does what they do. By the way, I mean, Star Trek, the original series, there are like 3 or 4 episodes at the beginning where the costumes just change. Like Kirk is wearing a sweater for some reason. What's his name? Spock is wearing like a giant blue sweater in one of the episodes. Nobody cares. It's just that thing that happened, and then people can move on. Like they get all over themselves. They would rather spend an extra $100 million to fix something that people would just go, that's weird, and then move on. So they're not really cost cutters, as maybe another story might.
Right. We're just about to get into that in a big way here. But I just want to go ahead and underscore right here. Disney is spending billions on content, and Netflix as well, right? Where you see the returns are Netflix is getting $1 billion in revenue. And meanwhile, in terms of operating income for Disney Plus, it's in the hundreds of millions. And we know that they've been doing a little bit of shenanigans, especially when it comes to the combined DTC metric, but also too the moving of content from one studio to the other, so that the other studio puts a lot of its production costs on those books instead of Disney Plus, and a lot of shenanigans to make this look as profitable as possible, and still, really underperforming not only YouTube but Netflix as well. We'll keep track of that and more here as we go along, but we want to go ahead and keep you updated because even though we're a theme park channel, these things matter, because for every dollar spent on something like Disney Plus, it's one less dollar spent on the parks.
That's very true. The parks, the state that the parks are in right now is pretty much attributable to the content spend on Disney Plus and buying Fox in order to bolster streaming. I'm doing air quotes, but you can't see them.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media account.